Ah, she's coming. You can have Nori when we're done. I'm not proud of this. Let's get some maintenance done on the tank. Happy New Year, Reefers. Welcome back to the channel. I have been a little bit absent recently and my tanks have got into a little bit of a state, as you can see. So today I thought it'd be a good opportunity to do the first video of 2024 with me running through my weekly maintenance routine. Maintenance is really important for your tank because it's one of the things that keeps your tank looking as good as it is. It also keeps your fish, corals happy, as well as obviously having a tank that you can showcase to friends, family, and Instagram if you like me. So we're gonna break it down very simply today, but I really want some feedback in the comments below about anything you want me to elaborate on or anything that you do differently to what I do. Together, I want to build a community on this channel where we can all help each other. For some of us, we may be going through a bit of a rough time. It is a new year, there's a lot of financial pressures across the economy, and I think if we can just help each other stay in the hobby and thrive and enjoy it, then we're doing something right, aren't we? Without further ado, there's a cat meowing. Come on, stop meowing. Bugger off. So I'm going to go through my weekly routine of how I maintain this tank, and I've designed this system around keeping things really simple. I have 3 young children and a very busy professional career, so I need to make this hobby work for me so I can enjoy it. If I was in a position where I was running a tank the way I see other reefers doing it, I probably wouldn't have been in the hobby for as long as I have. So each to their own. However, the other tank that I run is run very, very differently. Please as well, can I just say a huge thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel already. I'm only 4 weeks in here on YouTube and the support I've received already has really inspired me to continue making these videos, so thank you so much. So I'm going to break this video down into small bite-sized chunks. The first thing that's fundamental about maintaining your tank is to make sure you're doing daily observations. I do this every morning before work. I tend to make myself a coffee, come in, sit by the tanks, just gather myself for the day, do some observations with the fish and the corals. There's a few things that we'll all have in our tanks: Aptasia, Asterina starfish, so make sure you're keeping an eye on them. Whatever methods you're doing to control them, continue doing that, but keep an eye on things that are perhaps getting a little bit out of control. For instance, Aptasia for me, if you've seen my other video, my Aptasia problem got so bad it actually killed and ate my cleaner shrimp, which having a cleaner shrimp for me is an essential part of my system. So do keep in check with that. You can see that the rocks on this side have been moved. It's not as aesthetic as it was before. The reason I've done that is because there was Aptasia growing in places that I couldn't reach with the syringe solutions that you would use to kill the Aptasia. So I had to move the rock and I've got rid of most of that there. I obviously got rid of the big bulk of Aptasia over that side, but there is Aptasia growing in the sump. There's a little bit actually that's on top of the Cheeto that I've got in there as well, which is yeah, you should be observing your tank anyway, because if you're in the hobby and have a tank like this, or even a nano tank, the colours and the fish and everything that you've invested into the tank should be something that you want to see every day anyway, so that shouldn't be too hard. The second thing is feeding your fish. Now, I've spoke about feeding my fish before, but very quickly, it's really simple routine. I make a glass of mysis and brine shrimp up for the fish every day. I put nori in the morning and a little bit of the mysis and brine shrimp solution in the tanks for the fish before I go to work. And then on an evening, I put in the rest of that brine and mysis, which is stored in the fridge whilst I'm out. And that seems to keep all the fish that I stock at the minute happy, healthy, and my nutrients are still well balanced and in check. Another thing for dailies is check the fish, check the fins of the fish, check the fish's colour, check the fish behaviour, you know, look for things that are signs of any diseases or anything where your fish is stressed. If your fish is stressed, you are then going to be extremely susceptible to the diseases in your tank that could potentially wipe your whole system out. Do those things every day and you're on to a winning start. So weekly, my go-to magnet cleaner for cleaning the inside of the glass is the Flipper Edge. If you've got any spills on the tank, so anything that's wet or any salt that's dripped onto the tank, I've got a bit here. Usually I would get that off first because otherwise you're just going to smudge all of that into the rest of the glass, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to go ahead and get the glass clean. Be mindful to stay away from the edges where the silicone and glass meet. I mean, you can see with this flipper cleaner just how easy the algae comes off the glass, and the tangs love it as well, by the way. If you've got tangs, they will love this because they just love to pick that off anyway. So I kind of serve it up like Salt Bay for them, just a freshly cut bit of algae. If anyone wants to pick one of these up, it is literally just called the Flipper Edge. I'll try flip it for you so you can see the tank print. Here we go. So this is the print that they've got on it. You can just use the scrub pad, but obviously this is a bit more of a deeper clean, so I'm using the blades. I'll drop a clip of me and flipping it as well if you don't know how to do the flipper flip, because once you master that, you'd have to put your hands in. For some reason, the sea urchin has dropped his hat again. I got him a Viking hat and he keeps dropping it. I'm just going to put Ubba's hat back on. We support him to get back on his feet and continue his pilgrimage against the algae. So, good job, Ubba. Careful when you go into the sand bed, not to get glass in your cleaner. Because glass, well, it might as well be glass, sand in the cleaner, because if you get sand in the cleaner and move that around, you're going to scratch your glass. And I pride myself on not having many scratches in this glass. Certainly no scratches that I did, but be mindful of that. I change out my filter floss, which is in the sump. I change my socks if I need to, but I find that because I run the floss in the first chamber of the sump, I don't have to worry about my socks for about 4 weeks. And all I do when I change my socks is I give them a rinse under cold water, make sure they're nice and clean. Sometimes if the missus is in a good mood, you can throw them in the washing machine and ask that she doesn't use fabric softener with it, and then give them a rinse an hour after. But yeah, tend to just give them a quick rinse. They don't build up that much, so give them a rinse under the tap, let them dry out. But I have some other socks that I just kind of cycle through and change. Every week when I do this maintenance, before I actually change the floss, I give my media a little bit of a move around just to get any detritus off the rocks, and then that kind of falls through the system. And I can then take that out through the filter floss and socks if I need to. I have a refugium in my tank with Cheeto, a couple of mangroves in there as well. Actually, one mangrove. One of the mangroves I accidentally killed, but I'm not going to go into that today. So the refugium really helps the uptake of nutrients in my system, and every 4 weeks, maybe even sooner, depending on how quickly the Cheeto has grown, I'll remove a good chunk of that and bin it. That really helps me keep my phos and nitrates in check. Two of the biggest things that we monitor regularly in our aquariums. Moving on, I run Nios Quantum 120 in the sump. I'm running that skimmer 24/7. I don't tend to turn that off. That just runs, and I empty that cup probably every week and give it a bit of a clean with just some tap water. And that is it for the skimmer, really. Bonus tip for skimmers: if you do clean your skimmer out, try not to clean anything else other than the cup out. It's an absolute pain breaking a skimmer in, so once it's broke in, you just don't want to touch anything unless you really, really have to. So try avoid cleaning anything else other than that. You may have to occasionally take the pump out and clean the pump, take any bits of Cheeto or anything out the pump that may be clogging that up, but you shouldn't really have to do anything else with the skimmer. And then my tank drops into the return chamber, which runs through a bag of carbon. I'm actually using sea gel at the minute, and it runs through there, a bit of floss, back into the return and into the display. So that's basically how I run my system. I also like to run this system topless. The reason I run the tank topless, one, I find that it's more aesthetically pleasing and I prefer to run it topless. And number two, most importantly, it really helps me with keeping my nitrates down. I will go into that in another video, and if you want to know a bit more about that before I do manage to get around to doing that video, just drop me a comment and I'll ping you a message over as to why I do that and how that works. I don't change the water on this tank, and I haven't changed the water on this tank for 7 or 8 months now. I find that the way I run the tank keeps all my perimeters stable. I dose Modern Reef 4-part solution at the minute, and I have to be honest, the tank is doing the best it ever has. It's just taking care of itself, and I've got other things going on, so it's each to their own. And you will see if you follow me on Instagram, I have really, really happy, healthy fish. I don't find that I run into many problems other than Aptasia and Asterine stars. But there are really easy fixes for that. You know, nudies, which I've spoke about before. I swear by Harlequin shrimp. Every time I put a Harlequin shrimp in my tank, I've found a few weeks later there is absolutely no Asterina starfish anywhere. It's things like ick, flatworm, those types of things that you really want to be mindful of avoiding getting into your system. And there are steps you can take to do that, but we're not going to go into that today. I will be honest, I've not checked my perimeters in about 6 weeks, and I checked them last night, and everything was exactly as it was when I left it 6 weeks ago. And I'm in a position with a tank where it's just working, and I'm not going to try and fiddle with it, because if it's not broke, don't fix it. Check your dosing lines as well, make sure they're clean. Obviously you can see I've not done that for a while, but there obviously is there obviously is a lot of salt creep in the sump, so just make sure you're keeping up with that. I finish all of my maintenance by cleaning the glass. I use a Karcher window vac for that, which prevents any spills on the floor, and I then use a solution that my other half makes, which is a bit of vinegar, lemon, bicarbonate soda or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it gets all the salt and fingerprints off the glass, which obviously having 3 kids, we have lots of every day. So I only do that once a week. I tend to buff out those fingerprints and any other spills on the tank with just a towel. And lastly, I make sure that my RO bucket is topped up with RO, which usually lasts me around a week. So all I did for this is I went to IKEA and got, it was advertised as like a dog food biscuit bin barrel thing, so it's food safe. So I got I think it's about 50 litres, so I got a 50 litre bucket of that. And I just use an auto top up for that, which sits in the return chamber, as obviously that's one of the first chambers to decrease in water volume when your evaporation is taking place. So the one that drops below that point, it'll just automatically top up the water to make sure that level is maintained. Check your salinity every week as well, and make sure that is consistent with whatever you are running your tank at. I run mine at 0.25, but you maybe want to run that lower if you're not keeping any corals in there, or if you've got any issues with diseases, you maybe want to run that even lower, I don't know. But I keep mine consistent at 0.25. And I did forget to mention, I run a UV sterilizer in the sump here, essential for me and the way I run my system. I've been thinking about ozone as well, but I find that I get really good clarity with just the things that I use at the moment. So that is the tank complete. We've done our maintenance, and we've gone over everything that I do. I have had to get changed because I did the intro to the video before I did the cleaning of the tank, and I accidentally dropped the skimmer cup in the sump and got some of that nasty juice all over me, so I had to get changed. And if you stuck around, thank you. I am going to share some exclusive news with you. I am going to be one of the, if not the first reefer in the UK to be putting on the awesome Illumagic X4s on my system. Delua are going to be sponsoring me on the new build for the lights and potentially a few other bits of equipment. Honestly, I'm collaborating with some of the best in the business. Hopefully you're going to tune in for this and you can watch the process over the 12-week period and leave knowing that you're armed and equipped with some skills and tools to go ahead in your own reefing journey. Thanks as always for watching. Again, appreciate the support. And don't forget, please like and subscribe. Let's beat the algorithm together. I'm new here. Remember, we're here to help each other. Let's stick in there and continue enjoying this wonderful hobby. As always, there's plenty more seeing the fish.